Spiritual Psychics TV is hosting the first annual recognition of achievements, acknowledging those who dedicate their lives to a spiritual act of kindness. Spiritual Psychics TV, bringing spiritual people together.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Spiritual Psychic TV and this, the Being Spiritual show with me, your host, Ashley Robinson. It's wonderful to be back with you all this evening. Wonderful to have our virtual audience on Facebook and YouTube. If this is the first time that you are joining SPTV or indeed Being Spiritual, do let us know where you're watching the show from tonight. It'd be great to hear from you. And for all of our viewers that have come back again, let me know where you're watching from too. I do love thinking about you all, different parts of the world. It's also an opportunity to send out some love light and hopefully through the show, some laughter this evening. I do like to work in an uplifting way. And as we talk about what makes me spiritual, we find out a little bit more about you. I think it's good to put a bit of laughter out in the world. Now, if you are watching on Facebook and YouTube, you can also do us a favor by helping us to build this content. One of the things you can do is share it, share the content and share the stream. So if you're on Facebook, you can just quite quickly click share, maybe tag a friend or share it to one of your groups if you have permission to do so. On YouTube, you can click on the little forward arrow and you can share that across all of your social media channels, even send it to perhaps, a church WhatsApp group or anything like that. We really appreciate all of the new viewers that are coming over to the channel, and we appreciate all of you which keep coming back. We recognize the world is approaching a new state of normality, and that is very much down to the individual choice if you're going to make the time to listen to these shows either live or on demand and watching them on playback. And we'll keep doing shows for you, and we'll keep trying to drive the standards up across spiritualism as long as you keep coming back. So, remember to tell us what you like so we can do more of it. And in the unlikely event we do something you don't like, let us know too. As you were watching to come onto the show, you will see an advert for the SPTV Awards. I do hope you've all now had the opportunity to register yourself as a voter and have been able to vote for some of your favorite hosts or up and coming mediums and healers. It really is a great way of paying back service to all the people that give up their time and give up their service in spiritualism. So have a good think about people that perhaps don't appear in that nomination category yet, and think about registering one of them as a candidate. Nominate your favorite person. The SPTV website is an Aladdin's cave of spiritual treats, so do head over to that as well, folks. You've got the directory there, the awards, the events, lots of fantastic events both online and in person now, including our spiritual and psychic weekend in March. A wonderful weekend in Bournemouth, first weekend in March, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's dinner, bed, breakfast and a free bar, folks. Lots of opportunities to get involved in workshops, attend lectures and demonstrations of mediumship. Now, we have been sold out as it is only a little way around the corner, but sadly, due to ill health, a couple of people have had to drop out. So head over to spiritseeker.co.uk, find out a bit more about the weekend. And if you're free and you're interested, let me know. We can sign you up to that weekend. I've got a double room free for sure, maybe others. So get in touch with me if you're free first weekend of March and you're interested in attending our spiritual and psychic weekend. A fantastic opportunity to actually meet some of the SPTV family. Lots of mediums and demonstrators that have been broadcasting over the last couple of years will be there live in Bournemouth. So I'm going to do a couple of hellos and welcomes now. In order to participate in the show on YouTube, make sure you've logged in with your account and participate in the live chat. And on Facebook, just simply comment on the live stream. Otherwise, folks, it is great to be back. Great to have you with us. Let's find out who's watching the show tonight, and I'll send you out some love and light and laughter. And thank you to Richard, our producer, for making this show possible. Okay, I do apologise if people are experiencing slow-mo video. I've just found out my producer there is a couple of set things there. My Wi-Fi signal seems to be stable, so I do apologise for that. But hopefully you can all hear me out there in virtual land, and we'll see if we can sort out any of those technical problems. So let's see who is watching the show then tonight. Claire Colbeck says good evening. Hiya, Claire. Lovely Mary Dixie. And Mary Dixie will be appearing on the show in a couple of weeks' time when we broadcast live from Wimbledon Church. We're going to talk about development circles. Stephen Ack. Good evening, everyone. James and Denvy. Hi. Trav and Corfan, first time for me. Chrissy from Wimbledon and on FB. Evening all. Hope you're all. Hi there. Matty Tallum. Good evening. Lovely Julie Caswell. Hiya, Julie. Lenny Hopkins from London. Hiya, Lenny. How's it going? Sarah Gill. Hi from Redcar. I assume that's a place as opposed to a car that happens to be red. Joy Howe. Good evening, Ashley. Oh, hello. Thanks for letting us know where you are, folks. Amy Curtis, watching from Derbyshire. Hi, Amy. Nicola Humphreys. Good evening to you. Ashley Norcott, watching from Australia. Hi, Ashley. From Ashley. James Devaney. Greetings from Ireland. Dongao. Greetings, James. Wendy Gawley, evening, Ash. Hi, everybody. Hiya, Wendy. Lovely Mick Hayward. Good evening. Hope everyone's well tonight. Lovely Mick. Joanne Lewis says hi to everybody. Ali Barton. Hi, Alison. Zenel. Hello, Ashley. Hiya. Kimby. Oi, oi, me darling. Hello, Kimbo. Lovely Terry Wall. Hiya, Terry. Terry does so much wonderful work behind the scenes for SBTV. Thank you, Terry. Kitta Lee, watching from Spilsby. Hey, Kitta. Lovely Leslie Moulton, Reverend Leslie Moulton, my spiritual tutor, my spiritual counselling tutor right now. How wonderful. Sure she's looking after. Fiona Rosen from Exeter in Devon. Hiya, Fiona. Natalie Bentley, good evening to you. Lovely Christine Roberta, good evening to you. Hiya. Anne-Marie, hello from Poole. Hello, Anne-Marie. Wayne joins us. Hello, Wayne. Seashells says hi, Ash. Hello. Sylvia Freestone. Hello, Ashley. Nice to see you again. Good to see you, Sylvia. Yes, we did. Hello, Wayne. And Debbie Yu from Saltburn by the beach. Okay, and so I do apologise for the hi there from Mary in Glasgow, Scotland. Hi, Mary. Okay, great. I think I've caught up now with everybody that is on the show. If I haven't specifically mentioned your name, it was no deliberate thing. But welcome to Being Spiritual. So for those of you that have come to this channel and this show for the first time, tonight's all about spiritualist philosophy, opportunity to ask
Hi everybody, Richard here, just to let you know that we're just waiting for Ashley to come back. I believe he's just restarting his router and his internet to see if we get his connection, so please bear with us. And in the meantime, you've got me while we're waiting for the professional to turn up. That is my mobile phone. That's probably Ashley saying something's happening. Bless him. No, well, I'm not psychic. It's someone else. Well, there you go. What can I say? Well, good luck. I've just seen your message, Kimbo. I hope it all works out. What did I say to you? It'll all come really quick. What did I say? 2024, my butt. Did I say that on air during Ashley's show? Yes, I did. So, hi to everybody who's coming on. If you've tuned in to watch Ashley's show, then if we're just starting his router, and I think he needs to do for his internet, and he will be back on very shortly. So please bear with us, and we will be back with him. Good evening to Phil Shaw and Marie as well. Hi to you. And just to let everybody know, this is about philosophy tonight. It's not readings, but you can ask questions, and Ashley will answer them towards the end of the show after he's done his philosophy. Debbie's telling us the winds are awful here on the northeast coast. I'm in the south coast, and all I can say, we've had lovely blue skies. So what's everybody been up to then? Anybody been doing anything interesting and having fun? Have you enjoyed yourself? Have you gone skipping? You never know. I don't know. You might go on skipping. Just to let people know, while we're waiting for Ashley, I might as well do some adverts. Get that over and done with. So on the March the 13th from 7:30, we have a demonstration of trance with Polly Harnett. That is a donation event, which would be via Zoom, or if you live near the Portsmouth area, you can come along and watch it in person. If you are a VIP, it is completely free. That's for VIP supporters and VIP plus members as well. So that's on the 13th of March. So if you want to come and watch that, the information is under the event section on SBTV website. So just go to sbtv.uk and you will see the event section, and just click on there and you see what's going on. On the 11th of June, we've got Polly Harnett again. Matt and Kirsty and Bill Hughes doing an evening of mediumship in person in Waterlooville, which is near Portsmouth. It will be streamed online, but you will not receive a message. It's only for those in the audience. And at the same time, we're having an holistic fair on the same day, I should say. We're having an holistic fair drawn a day from 10 o'clock to 4:30 with healers, stalls, readers. Also going to be free workshops and talks. And you can find that information under the mbs.spiritualpsychicstv.online as well. And don't forget, if this is turning into an advert channel, if you want to vote for people, you can vote for your favourite show. Hi Stace, I've just seen you pop on. If you want to vote for people, you can go along to awards.sbtv.uk or just sbtv.uk and click on the awards, and you can nominate, vote. And it's not about ego, it's not about greed, it's to acknowledge the people who do a lot for spiritualism or for their local community, or spiritual in general for their local community. Okay, it's not just for people who work or been with SBTV. You can nominate absolutely anybody you want, as long as they're real and legitimate and not dead. Put it that way. Okay. Catherine Smith, I paid for VIP today but not received any confirmation yet. Catherine, I have replied to your email earlier on. So sorry for my delay, but it's been one busy day for me, and saying you should receive an email very shortly, today or tomorrow, where you'll be invited to the lounge area, which gives you all the information as to what's going on. Okay, so thank you very much, Catherine, for supporting SBTV. And if anybody else wants to become a VIP, there's lots of perks. We have competitions, we have free events, for example, Polly. But one thing we do have, which I haven't even done the graphic for, on the, when is it? February the 6th, I think it is, for VIPs only, we have the wonderful Paul Sissal, who's going to be doing a free lesson course for beginners who want to learn how to communicate with their spirit guides or with spirit. That starts, and the information will be placed up in a few days' time once I've done all the graphics and the wording for it, with the wonderful Paul Sissal. So that starts on the 6th of February for 3 weeks, and that is 100% free for VIPs and VIP supporters. We also have Marcus changing around his course in March. So if you are a VIP, it's going to be a development course for intermediate beginners, and that's going to be a 6-week course. It's going to be different to what you've already learnt with Marcus, so lots of changes with that as well. So as you can already tell, there's lots of going on. There's lots of discounts. We have Sam O'Neill, if you want to learn about runes, she's doing a course as well. Yet again, discount for VIP members. So yeah, Why? Oh, Richard, why you're here? Why is Sunday Sofa on a later time? The reason why we decided to do Sunday Sofa at a later time because we had many requests asking if we can have it later because the family are busy, got kids at the school doing football or rugby or whatever the case may be, and they were missing a lot of the stuff, or they're having dinner or they're shopping or whatever the case, where they say between 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock is their time to relax. So it's on a trial way at the moment, and I've got Ashley calling me. So Ashley, I've been holding the fort for you. It's okay. I should bring you straight into everybody. There he is. Everybody, is Ashley. Hello,
Hello,
Ashley.
folks.
So
I'm very sorry about that.
it's okay. We've done all the adverts for you, so don't need to worry about that. One thing I didn't say: tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, we do have our medium show. Sunday we have the divine service, and then Sunday night we're doing the fledgling chat via Zoom. So I'm going to pass all the show back to Ashley. So back to you, Ashley.
Wonderful. What an amazing producer to keep holding my hand and all of you at home.
Yes,
sorry about that,
sweaty,
folks.
by the way.
Very sweaty hands. Hopefully now the internet signal is going to be a little bit more reliable as well. I think the some sort of electronic magnetic pulse went through our house and took everything out. But we appear to be back online. So I'll say hello to Mary from Glasgow in Scotland and then cut off. So hopefully we're all back now and looking forward to a show. And folks, today's, I always thought about asking Ash anything. I was going to say challenge Ash today. Give me some things that hello, good old Phil Shaw. Give me some things that you want to talk about, anything. Give me a subject, anything within spiritualism, and I'll talk about it for 5 minutes, and then we could have a bit of an open sort of conversation about it. But hello, Anne McLaren. There's open conversation. Sheena Lightheart, good evening, Sheena. And Julie Caswell, I'm back, baby. So think about, hello, Catherine Smith. Think about some things that you want to chat about today. And we're going to have a bit of a spiritualist chat around the table. I was demonstrating mediumship at Christian Spiritualist Church down in Chichester on Sunday last week. And one of the things I was really interested about is they have this philosophy group there that meets in person. And I remember a couple of years ago saying to my dad, wouldn't it be great to talk about philosophy at the church in Wimbledon? And nicely, almost no one was interested. And I said to Richard when he gave us the opportunity about broadcasting the divine service, do you think that we could get some people interested in spiritualism, about being spiritual, and we could do something online? And he said, well, if you're really boring, Ash, we'll switch you off, but we'll give it a go. And I'm really pleased to say that, well over a year now, we've been doing this show. All of you wonderful people keep coming back with all your lovely questions. And I have honestly developed as a medium, as a spiritualist, as a result of the conversations and the subjects that we've spoke about, because it continues to get me to dig deep into my own spiritualism. Now, Catherine Smith has come in with a first question. How do you know what message you are getting from spirit, or if you're making them up yourself? Great question, Catherine. And it's certainly the first thing that I asked when I sat in a development circle. And I no doubt all mediums, when they start off, and other people in development circles are asking exactly the same thing. Now, I say it was one of the first things I asked in the development circle. I got an answer, but I've continued to ask that question. In fact, even before I demonstrate in a church now or online, I'm asking myself that question. And ultimately, the feeling, the difference of the being is what it's about. So, Catherine, I'm going to take all of you on a bit of a journey. And if we think about our mind's eye, and the way the body as an antenna and a medium for those messages from spirit. Now, we know from the conversations we've had about heaven, and we did a brilliant show because you told me it was all about heaven and what is heaven. Now, if we think about heaven then as a place of pure energy and place of pure thought. Okay, so we keep that to one side. Now we think about our body as an antenna. Now, where do we get the messages? Sometimes we have physical phenomenon. We're able to see with our actual eyes or hear things with our ears, feel things with our body, smell with our nose. I would say with me, although I can do all of those things and it has all happened, the vast majority of those senses are influenced by what's inside the mind's eye. It's that bit of the brain where I like to store my to-do list, or my shopping. What am I going to have for dinner or for tea? And you have to clear that. You have to clear that part of your mind. Sometimes I refer to it as a blank canvas. I try and blank the canvas, ready for spirit to portray the image on the front of that. The other thing that I often describe it is a mirror, the mirror in the mind. And this comes from some of the Harry Edwards teachings of his sort of plain English and understandings of mediumship and indeed healing, because both as healing and as a spiritualist medium, you are attuning to that energy. And he used to talk about the idea behind this mirror in the mind and getting the attunement just right so that the mirror can start to portray all of those things in the mind's eye. So bearing in mind all of those things, well, the first thing I'm going to ask you to do, Catherine, is think back to what outfit you were wearing yesterday. And you can close your eyes if that helps. And as you close your eyes and you think, well, what was I wearing yesterday? You start to build up using your memories what you were wearing. And then if I sort of asked you a follow-up question of like, what were you eating when you were wearing that outfit? And assuming that you had something to eat at some point while you were wearing those clothes, you maybe start to get the memories. Maybe you can taste the food, or you can remember the drink in your mouth. You can now remember if you're indoors or outdoors, if you're with someone else, what was the background noise? Was it like my house, kids kicking off and noisy? Was it nice and calm? Could you hear birds or traffic? As all of those things start to come in, those are your memories. And I surrender myself to the will of spirit when I'm giving mediums, and I ask them to come close into that mirror's mind, and they will utilize some of those memories. But when they produce an image, which is of course pure thought, it's so vivid that it's very different to an actual memory. So when I'm in the mirror in my mind and I'm asking spirit to come forward, and as I start to see a picture, perhaps, of the communicator, of what they look like, because it is spirit producing that information to my mind, one of the first things is I can clear it again, go back to my shopping or what I was wearing yesterday to see the difference. But as soon as I ask them to bring it back, I can bring that image straight back because it is a spirit projection in that mind's mirror, on that blank canvas. So the vividness of the experience is one of the things that I now know the difference between things that are my memory and my conscious mind processing versus the things that spirits are processing. The second thing I'm doing with my guides is I'm asking my guides to continue to influence me. I've got my guides with me right now. One of them is Ralph A. Steadman, who is a wonderful spiritualist philosophist while he was alive, continues to be a great teacher of philosophy while he's in heaven. And I'll be saying to Ralph, have I got this right, Ralph? And Ralph, as a guide, has a slightly different identity to the memory of Ralph when he had that sort of physical incarnation. So I'm using my guides now to help me understand what's in the mirror's mind as well. And I'm juggling all these things. The other important thing is I'm asking for additional evidence. So when I'm giving evidence of, say, a communicator, and I've got someone here who's claiming to be a man or a woman, family or a friend, claiming that they pass with this condition, as they present that information to me, sometimes they are presenting it direct in that mirror's mind. Other times what they start to do is it's a bit like Guess Who. So in my family, I've got my mum and my dad. And if this person was a mother or a father, they might show me my mother or my father. If this person's a granddad, they might show me my mum's dad or my dad's dad to let me know that that is the same relationship they have to the sitter. So those things are indeed memories, but spirit are almost grabbing those memories, influencing and pushing forward. For those of you that see me work as a medium will know that sometimes I get names. More often I get letters or I get sounds, because I've got a 7-year-old and I'm teaching him as well alongside the school. I'm not taking full credit for it, but teaching him how to read and write and spell. And I get all the phonetics, and I might go, I've got a k sounding noise, curly C, and then maybe I'll see my friend Catherine, and then I'll go, oh, okay, Catherine. Then I send my friend Steve Smith, and I could get Catherine and Smith out of that. So, Catherine, your question there about knowing the difference, the vividness of what it is portraying, the difference of the memories, and then me working with my guides to actually say, can you help me here? What is it you're trying to tell me, or let me hear, or let me see? All of those things make the difference. The other thing is that I said to you, I did ask this question when I first sat in circle, and I still ask it all the time. And my own mother gave a brilliant explanation of this once. And she asked me what else the voices in my head were saying. What went on was this wonderful conversation about the imagination, innovation, about the ability to recall memories, photographic memories. And then there was this thing about how far you can push your ambition when it comes to imagination, about making things up on the spot. Now, for those involved in amateur dramatics and drama and stuff, might say, yeah, very easy. I can spontaneously make up things. But the more detail you get without thinking, the more you present that information that's not a memory, the greater the likelihood is that someone else is giving that information. So if my communicator was someone I know, let's take my granddad Dell, he lives in heaven now. If I was giving information about him, I do find it hard sometimes to know, okay, granddad, is this just your memories that you're now influencing me, or is it really you? Give me something different. And of course, most of the evidence he's going to give me about himself are still memories. But that's why reading for actually friends can be quite hard. You have to really push the communicator to give you additional evidence. Come on, granddad, if I'm giving a message to my dad, I want something, granddad, that only dad would know about you that I don't know. And of course, that's challenging within family, but certainly with the average client, it's much easier. I don't know my clients. So when I've got someone that has given me this date or this anniversary or taken me to this part of the world and talk about this condition, it isn't just a case of guess who, did they have glasses on, did they have long hair, short hair? It's about the actual evidence coming from the communicator. And again, the likelihood is that you've not been able to spontaneously make that up on the spot. And certainly as mediums, we don't get any prep time to think about that before we get up. In fact, one of the big anxieties as a medium is just as I get up, I often have no idea what I'm going to say and where I'm going to go to. And my grandfather, as I almost brought him forward talking about him a minute ago, is reminding me via a spirit link of the fact that he used to say to me, right, you're on in 5 minutes, Ash, you should be with your first communicator now. Start getting your first communicator and start getting your evidence. And I always used to find it really challenging because I'd start thinking about the medium, or perhaps on the way to the church, I'd be driving and think, come on, where's my first communicator? Sometimes it would happen, but often it wouldn't happen until I opened my mouth and started talking. And of course, as soon as the first link finishes, one of the things I do with my guide is I separate that and I say, right, that was your message. And that is the cue for my guides to say, clear the mirror again, clear the canvas, new evidence, and it starts portraying. And the more attuned I am, the greater that evidence. And I don't think it's any secret, particularly for us sort of mediums developing, that you can almost warm up. If you're at a church for 2 hours giving demonstration of clairvoyance, you can warm up and warm down depending on your own sort of energy levels. But some of my best evidence has been where I stop trying to interpret what's on the mind's mirror or on that blank canvas, and I just open my mouth and I just feel inspired to talk. And for those that watch mediumship on this show on a Saturday night, you'll see different mediums all working different ways. Like a fingerprint, we're all ever so slightly different. But you'll often see with my mediumship, if you watch some of that playback or the next time I'm on, I often start by saying, I've got someone here who's claiming to be X, Y, and Z. He or she are saying A, B, C. They're telling me A, B, C. And then actually, when the communicator and I are very much attuned, I stop talking about he and she or they, and I start talking as if I am the communicator. I was only aware of this quite recently at a church when someone gave me the feedback that they could see that my mediumship changed depending on the communicator, depending on that energy. And that goes back to another great teacher, someone I've always loved his reading in his books, Gordon Higginson, a wonderful medium in the I think 50s, 60s, 70s, and maybe early 80s, gave incredible evidence. And he always used to say, you must treat every no as a challenge, you must go for the evidence, and you must continue to give the evidence. And this is a man, I'm told, could quote people's mobile phone numbers and PIN codes as part of his mediumship. And he said you have to do hundreds, if not thousands, of readings all the time. Practice, practice, practice. Always take a daily advancement, a daily step. Keep asking those questions, asking that evidence within the mind's eye to get the evidence of the communicator. So, Catherine, you spurred me on there with a couple of different subjects, which I segued into. But hopefully, Catherine, that answers your question, and indeed may have inspired a few of you to ask a different question. Hi, Seashells. Number 11 music, Richie. Greetings and blessings. Sue Chadwick, hello, Sue. Emma Jane Poston, hi. Good evening, friends, from Marin Frisbee. Hiya. Gary, Gaza, how you doing? Divine Sparkle, 1111. Ricky and Tyler, good evening. Livy, hello, hello. Sorry she's late. Hope everyone is well. I shall catch up the first 20 minutes later on rewatch. What a great and dedicated member of the audience you are, Olivia Louise. Good evening to you, my friend. Wayne's loved ones. Hi, Ashley. Do you meditate, and what meditate do you use? Thank you, Wayne. Yes, I do meditate. As a parent with two boys, active boys, and one on the way, I'll be honest, I do find the time to properly dedicate to meditation. It's going to make you laugh now, but yeah, in the shower or on the toilet, it tends to be a great moment of privacy just to close my eyes and meditate for a couple of minutes. In a couple of weeks, we'll be talking about development circles, and I'm going to bring on my circle leader, Mary Dixie, and Christine Woodham from Spain. We'll talk a little bit about some of the tools and techniques that circle leaders have to help sort of people aspire. And almost always it starts with some sort of level of awareness and self-reflection through meditation. My mum is a brilliant guided meditator lead, as is the Reverend Leslie Moulton, that does a show every other Friday on here. I love a good guided meditation, but I do struggle to follow the guided meditations. I kind of wander off, because as soon as I open up and I start to clear the mind's eye, I go off on my own little journeys, which actually shows not good enough discipline to do this properly. But one of the first people to ever take me fully into a guided meditation was a guy called Jim. Jim is married to Pollyanna Boothby, often comes onto the show as a member of the audience. And Jim used to have a background Native American Indians and I think it's shamanic. And he used to do these incredible, powerful meditations. And it was as if he sent me to sleep. I would go off and follow him, and I would see all sorts of animals within the Native American world. And I loved his voice. I used to say to him that he had this Jackanory voice, you know, a storyteller. And I think when you're a storyteller or an orator, it's very easy to be able to do that. There's some brilliant meditations on SPTV if you go back on playback. I've actually done a couple on here. We did a show dedicated to meeting your guide, and we finished with that. The reason I mentioned that is Richard, our producer, actually got some fantastic footage of nature. And I've always been connected to nature with my meditations. And I found that these videos and stuff, that was what kind of starts to relax me. Whenever I'm at the church at Wimbledon, we've got the screens there now so people can watch SPTV. I always put on that sort of footage, the running water and the lakes and out in the forest. And I start to disappear into it. That's my sort of sense of me relaxing and surrendering myself to the will of spirit, the divine, and our guides. So yeah, for me, it's sitting in that power and that meditation. So the best meditations are the ones that work for you. Go and find someone that you like listening to. Wayne says that he also loves Native American shamanic drumming. I used to really like the panpipes. It used to drive my dad absolutely potty at the church. Before we had the screens, we had the CD player, a Walkman for some of you older viewers will remember them. And I used to put on the panpipes. It used to drive my dad absolutely potty because I'd have the panpipes going through all the church speakers. But I loved that noise, and in the same way I loved the drumming. It was something that I found it easier to attune to. And ultimately, it's about meeting your guides. And once you're able to get to a point in meditation that you can find something which works for you, and you can find out about your guide, your principal guide, your mediumship guides, your healing guides, and all the other people that are just working with you, you've got this opportunity of continuing to practice attunement. And you then, certainly if you're working at any type of level within spiritualism, you work kind of like, what is my meditation switch? How do I switch on to let people know I'm ready to start working with these gifts? And how do I switch off again? So yes, I do meditate, not enough and not consistently. I try and meditate very briefly before these shows, before any of my mediumship demonstrations. I also open up in prayer, and for me, opening up in prayer and dedicating via intention to what I'm about to do in terms of service, all part of that meditation. But in terms of chilling out, yeah, I do like a bit of music, maybe some drumming, maybe some panpipes, or just out in nature. And as I say, Richard's played it a few times on SPTV, but check it out. Brilliant footage. That's the sort of stuff. So it's meditating with my eyes wide open, but watching that sort of footage, that's what kind of gets me in the mood for this. And it helps me with my attunement. And attunement is just like a radio. And you use your meditation almost like an interface to the knobs on the radio, and then you can start to tune in. So great question, Wayne, and hopefully I've answered that for you. Wayne says they agree also with prayer. Yep. Thank you very much. Just for me question, Richard says. Okay. Actually, talk about that. Okay, right. No doubt a few people might have seen that on the live chat anyway, but yeah, it's all about taking that time for you, that private time. Oh god, that has made me chuckle. Karen Goddard says good evening to everyone. Hi Karen. Sue Lawrence, another one from Australia. Great. I love the way these shows coincide. I suppose it's morning for you, Sue, but welcome to you. Welcome to you joining the show now. Ashley Norcott says, I lost my son at 35 weeks gestation 4 years ago, and I'm currently pregnant again. We went to our midwife appointment yesterday, and I had a butterfly follow me all the way from the car park to the front doors, and I just thought it was him. Just wondering if there are any messages from him. Ashley, thank you for sharing that story. We're not actually doing mediumship tonight, but I would like to just talk a little bit about that from a philosophical point of view. So first thing is, thank you for sharing. Second thing is that my wife and I have gone through similar things, not quite far as long, but we tried 10 years for our first son to actually be born, Ethan, and we suffered what they called failed pregnancies or miscarriages along the way. Now, my belief is that at the moment of conception, that is the point that the spirit being is making a choice to come down to incarnate. And at that point of conception, bearing in mind that everything is energy, and the difference between a human being and a corpse is the absence of that energy that we call the soul, the personality, I believe we start from heaven, we go back to heaven. So spirit being in the spirit world makes a decision to come down to incarnate. And Ashley, they would have made that decision with you. And some people would argue that the 35 weeks was always going to happen. It was destiny. I don't necessarily believe in that. Not that I don't believe in destiny. I think destiny is a big part of it. But I do believe, through my own experiences, certainly with the pregnancies, a baby is a miracle. And yes, a baby is born every minute, but you need a little miracle every couple of hours, every single day, throughout the entire pregnancy, for everything to go right. And sometimes physically the biology just doesn't develop. And what we had in our own situation was then evidence from spirit in the first case that the baby was not developing correctly, and that there'd been acknowledgement of that this wasn't going to be a viable pregnancy, and therefore that spirit being went home, went back to heaven. And we've had confirmation from that energy of that being that they would have, they wanted to incarnate. I've also been told there are opportunities for them to try again, or for them to have had that experience, and that 12 weeks experience from that moment of conception, and that being enough for them at that point in their life. Now, we ended up planting a rose bush when we lost the first known pregnancy, and we called it Hope. We also, during the second pregnancy that had failed, another rose bush, Faith. And we believe there may have been 2 incarnations at that point. And we also had Charity. So there's 3 rose bushes that continue to grow in my garden. But in the moments that followed over that, before our first son Ethan was born, we had different evidence from different mediums using those words. People claiming to be children that had never walked on earth in our life, that were recognized. They gave words like charity, like faith, like hope. And we also, as a family, always talk about little robins or birds perhaps being little messengers from heaven. And again, all of beings, animals included, are a collection of atoms. And within those atoms are particles, and the particle itself is an intelligent energy, and all of that together comes to create the being of the sparrow. So can they be influenced from the spirit world? I absolutely believe they can. So I've given you some of my philosophy around incarnation, conception, sort of babies. Within the information you have shared, if you believe that butterfly was evidence from the spirit world, then I absolutely believe that too. I think it's totally possible. If the question, and I don't think it is, but if the question was, have the person that was going to incarnate as your baby now incarnated as a butterfly, the answer is I don't know. We've done a show dedicated to reincarnation, and from my own limited working knowledge of reincarnation, which I do believe in, suggests that as the atoms continue to evolve, bigger and better things happen with the collective consciousness. So you might start off as atoms that form minerals, and then rocks, and then flowers, and then properties, and then you start to become animals, butterflies, bigger animals, and you develop to the point of becoming a human being. And by the time that all of those atoms have come together to form the physical shell, which becomes our interface for that 3D experience as a human being, actually, when the body as the vessel is unable to support the soul, the personality and the atoms, the energy that is part of that, go back to heaven. So I believed it's always been a bit of a hierarchical thing in terms of that energy. Equally, we know that more than one atom can exist in different parts of the planet and probably the universe at exactly the same time, and be in constant communication with each other. So is it possible that the butterfly was simply a representation or an extension of the person, of the incarnation that could have been? That is also possible. I went to a really interesting demonstration by a trance medium quite recently, where they spoke about the concept of personalities behind things like trees, and the energy behind, even things like, wildlife, and how actually that's atoms as well. And those atoms have the ability to communicate with other atoms. So all of it is absolutely possible. So Ashley, while I don't have a specific message from him, I do have a belief in life after death. That's why I'm a spiritualist. Is why I'm a spiritualist medium. So that message you could interpret as them being with you, of them being supportive of you, of them going through this with you. And actually, with your permission, I will send you some love, light, and healing, where we hope that everything goes as well as it can do with you. Thank you, Ashley. Good question. And although I haven't answered it directly by giving you a message from them, I hopefully given you there a bit of a philosophical answer that gives some of my belief on this on that subject. Sarah Wheeler, if you see something, could it be spirit telling you what is going to happen in a situation? It could be, Sarah. It might not. If you're a fan of Hollywood and The Matrix, things like Deja Vu could be a glitch in the system. Equally, from a reincarnation and spiritual point of view, Deja Vu could be your conscious mind catching up with the higher self when it perhaps was told about certain things within destiny that may happen depending on your own free will and decisions and the free will and decisions of other people around you. I think that telling the future is really difficult. If it were easier, I'd be in a better shirt tonight and maybe driving a better car. I'd have the lottery numbers. Equally, even if you could tell the future, why would Spirit give us that sort of information if it's not meant to be? So, can we see into the future? I think we can see bits of what's going on. In part, because when we choose an incarnation, I do believe in the power of a destiny, a destination. Even if that is your version of utopia or paradise, I do feel that almost everything we go through has an element of destiny to it. And certainly afterwards, it was all part of the experience. So where spirit are, we think about them, or I think about them as being higher, about heaven being above, because it's a higher level of vibration, a higher level of energy. I also think about them of being in some sort of helicopter. They can see the big picture. And there they are, my Nanny Hazel, my dad's mum, in heaven, like a little helicopter, and she can see all of us. She can see all of the family, she can see all of the things going on. I live in South London, near Wimbledon. If I was driving to the South Coast and I'd made that intention, I'd made those plans, my nan was around me, she knew Ash has decided he's going to go to Brighton. In her helicopter, she can see that there are only half a dozen different ways of going from London to Brighton. So along those paths, it'd be very easy for my nan to say, I've had a quick look on the M23, Ash. There's been some water on the road. There's been some oil. The likelihood is there's going to be an accident there. So I'm giving you this image of avoid the M23 because the likelihood is if you go down that way, as you've done before, you might be caught up in this accident. And I think spirit can do that. I think spirit can see pathways we're on. They can see the direction we're going in. Perhaps they've picked up on an element of destiny and they can start to influence us. The other thing is that our spirit, in particular our principal guides, have an idea perhaps of our ultimate destiny, of the things that we're trying to experience, probably with the ambition of pursuing as many things that make us happy, doing things that make us happy with people that make us happy. And that guide will, when we let them, try and keep us on the straight and narrow, as if we're on reins like a piece of elastic. And if we wander off the beaten track, because we have our own free will and accord, we can do that. But it's not what we're meant to be doing. Perhaps our guide can pull on those elastic cords and try and spring us back to the middle, to carry back on that path. And again, they can give us an idea about maybe what's in front of us. Ash, you're trying to circumvent that mountain and you're not going to do it. You need to go up and over it. And actually, I can tell you what's going to happen if you try and circumvent it. You're going to fall off the edge because that's a likelihood. So, Sarah, hopefully that answers your question. Just realised it's almost 9 o'clock. So last few questions, folks, if you try and get them in now, and I do apologise for the technical problems we had today, but loving your questions. Lovely Kaylee. Hiya, Kaylee. Saying hello to everybody. Heidi Spice, evening all. Just read back. Kimbo, I'm so chuffed for you. Don't know what you're chuffed about, Heidi, but I'm now chuffed too. I'm sure there was something good in the chat. Kimbo's been stuck in limbo for a little while. Got a flight booked home. Great. Pleased to hear that, Kimbo. Stay sure. What's the most important aspect when working the physical platform? Do you mean physically, as in physically working in person on the platform, or do you mean from physical mediumship? Do give me a steer. I'll try and answer both quickly. Yeah, so Richard, my ever insightful voice in my mirror, says it's about working on the physical platform. And for me, the most important thing is to be honest, is to be true, is to have that integrity, to be authentic. You need to bring all of yourself to mediumship in the same way you bring all of yourself to the church and backed up by that discipline. So you need to be honest absolutely honest with yourself, recognizing that we can all work with the spiritual gifts, and therefore we must use them with responsibility. We must be honest. We must give the evidence we have correctly, and try and do nothing else. Stick within the principles of the organizations that we're accredited and affiliated with, and the principles of the churches or the centers that we're working from. But be honest with yourself. Don't do things like carry a bag mediumship, where you give people a load of stuff for them to just take away. You know, I can remember that from years ago. Sit in the church and they'd go, right, I've got an Alfie and a Bertie and a Cyril, and I've got a Dave, and I've got an Ellen, and I've got a Fred. And you go, oh, really? That's a lot of names. Just take them away, love. It'll all come back to you. For me, even if that is the most wonderful bit of evidence from spirit, and it was your mum telling you about all these people she was thinking of, that's not enough. So don't do carry bag mediumship. Don't give people things for them to think about. Give them evidence which they can understand right now. Now, with a private reading, of course, more might come out later. You know, you get feedback from people sometimes months later. Oh, I finally caught up with my mum, and actually it turns out X, Y, and Z was absolutely true. I just didn't understand it at the time. But when you're working on a physical platform, you know, you need to think about the principles of what it is you're doing. As a spiritualist medium, my first job is to give evidence of life after death. Once I've established who the communicator is, and I've had confirmation from the member of the congregation, then I give them a message. And that message itself must be within the keeping and the philosophy of spiritualism. Personal responsibility is really important. We don't do fortune telling. We're also regulated in law now by things like the Consumer Act. And the Consumer Act, in sort of general high-level terms, says you must not charge people for something that you claim to do and then you can't do it. So if you say you can do it, you must give evidence of doing it. A lot of people will then turn around and say, oh, this mediumship is for entertainment purposes, so that they're not regulated by the Consumer Act. But for me as a spiritualist medium, I'm claiming to give you evidence of life after death, of life after life in that place I call heaven. And therefore, for me, the important thing is that the person understands who their communicator is, that I've given them sufficient evidence of that, and then I give them a message from that person. There's a guy called Matt Grogan that you would probably know very well on this channel if you are coming back and you watch different shows. Matt is someone that has worked quite hard around standards of platform mediumship, and he went on a bit of a solo mission to try and unite all of the spiritualist organizations together, and he came up with a set of common standards which we're quite proud to have up in our church on the platform, which remind a medium about the professionalism that is required as a platform medium. But yeah, honesty and integrity, Stace, they're the things that are absolutely important. Thank you. Good question. Hopefully that answers it. Hello, Dawn. Got that handle, Dawn. Hi, guys. Amy says, when you were learning to do philosophy, did you ever feel a bit nervous at first? Amy, I feel nervous just before coming live tonight. Nerves are an important part, I suppose, of managing the ego in a way. Gordon Heason, we mentioned earlier on, said that actually nerves are a pretty good thing. They remind you you're human. They also remind you about the experience you're going through. So yeah, I was very, very nervous the first time. And the first show I ever did, I had no idea if it would work. And I said to Richard, I want to talk about what is God. If we have half a dozen people that watch it online, we'll give it a go. And actually, one of the benefits of lockdown was a lot of you were at home with not an awful lot to do. So a few of you tuned in and said, yeah, I quite like this. I quite like this guy. I've always said that it's my honest opinion. And the caveat is you're absolutely entitled to use, and I respect that. But yeah, so when I started learning philosophy, when I started talking about it, I got nervous. Certainly doing it online, it's another level of nerves. Before working in a church, and I'm 39 now, and I started working in churches on platforms when I was 18. I still get nervous now. I get incredibly nervous. I get nervous before I do private readings because I have no idea if it's going to work. Everything is an experiment, and the same with the philosophy as experimental. The other thing I think with philosophy is, hopefully what you'll never hear from me on here is that I'm absolutely right 100% about this and you're wrong, because all of this is my opinion based on my experiences, on the truths that I've come to know as truth and fact, and of course my own guide team. And my own guide team all sit around the equivalent of a spiritual board table, and they spend most of the time disagreeing with each other. Now, they all live in that place I call heaven. They've all entered at slightly different times. And I have Ralph that often chairs these committee meetings. And what we end up doing when we're giving you the answers to this question is I've kind of got like an agreed, abbreviated version of the philosophy and the subject. And I get very nervous about that. And some of my guides come in a bit stronger and go, no, I'm absolutely right about reincarnation. No one else around the table. And sometimes around that mediumship table, the other guys would go, yeah, actually, we do think you know more about reincarnation. So we'll let you give Ash your steer on that. So, yeah, nice question, Amy. But I like to consider myself as still learning now, too. Thank you. I'll do a couple more questions, folks. And then sadly, we're coming towards the end of the night. Appreciate you sticking with us and the technical problems I had today. Krish says, hi, Ashley. Hi, Krish. Is that Krish Pillay? Lovely name. Kitty says, I'm having dreams every single night. Is someone trying to tell me something? Quite possibly. Dreams such as me and my partner in a car crash. Well, that sounds pretty scary dreams. An old style bedside clock continuously flipping to 3:39, very weird dreams. However, not sure if I'm awake or asleep. Please give me an insight. I haven't slept properly for over a week now. Gitta, sorry you haven't slept well. With your permission, I'd like to send you some absent healing to help you with your sleep. The other thing that you can do is you can ask your guides to come particularly close to you to help you get through that sleep. Because if spirit are trying to tell you something, what you need to do is say back to them, and you can do that through intention, or you can do that just by speaking aloud before you go to sleep. This is driving me potty, and I'm not sleeping properly. There are hundreds of different ways of dream interpretations. On SPTV, there was a dream interpreter that you could probably watch back on playback, Leanne. But you can also Google some of this stuff. Google dream interpretation 339, Google car crash. A lot of this often with dreams, as I said, tends not to be us seeing the future. It tends to be ways that our mind and our body and our subconscious come together. I certainly know that spirit influenced me in my dreams, and often in the same way that I'm doing my mediumship, and I get these like psychic images of things happening. So a car crash, for example, and I've had dreams about me and my wife and kids being involved in the car crash. Some of those dreams I were having when I then had spirit give me a bit more of a guide were around my own anxiety. The car I was driving, it wasn't a brand new car. There's that anxiety as a dad. Is it safe enough? Have I fitted the seats right? That anxiety was physically becoming a psychological problem. And when I was going to sleep, that anxiety was causing me to think about things. And ultimately, I said to Spirit, well, give me help here. I want to take this anxiety away. I want to worry about the good stuff. And ultimately, it was about me researching properly and having some confidence I was fitting the car seats properly. Eventually, ended up buying a different car. Gary sold me a fantastic car. Actually, Gary, that was on a little while ago. Making sure that I was dealing with the physical things that were happening in my conscious mind so that subconsciously it wasn't affected me. A different time in my life when I wasn't having the same anxiety about kids and car seats and everything else, the car crash was an interpretation of what was going on at work. I was in a bit of a toxic environment at work. I felt like my wife, as my best mate, was the only person I could really talk to about kind of what was going on at work. It was all a bit grim. And actually, the car crash was like me feeling that I was going to burn out, that I was going to kind of hit this, but actually that I wasn't going to come off the rails. I was going to be there. I was going to be there with my wife. So some of those things it could be. Have a look on Google, but like doing any type of diagnosis, you'd never go on Google with your medical symptoms, would you? Because you'd find out you died 10 minutes ago. Sometimes these things are so severe. So take it with a pinch of salt. Not everyone that's interpreting this stuff on Google is going to be absolutely right. Do ask your guides, do ask people that know quite a bit about this. And things like the times, it just can be significant. I've given messages in both private readings, sort of sittings and at churches, and I'm going to use your time as an example. I could say, look, I've got someone here who's claiming to be your nan. They said they passed with X, Y, and Z. Your nan's saying that you're not sleeping very well. And the last time that she was with you, she was trying to get all the threes on the clock here, for example, 3:33, but she couldn't. It took you a while to actually look at the clock, and you looked at it at 3:39. 39. And that would be evidence, for example, of maybe spirit beings being around you and being aware of the time. Sometimes the numbers have symbolic things. Sometimes, certainly in the middle of the night, we see the clock so many times, when the numbers are the same, they stand out. You know, the three, and then you think it goes 369. You suddenly remember it more in your conscious mind. So you might have seen the clock half a dozen times, but the 339 was there. Equally, the 339 could be significant. And it could be significant within the dream. It could be significant about speed. You know, in a dream I had, actually, which was 229 as opposed to 339. I kept seeing that on the clock. I thought when I woke up, it was actually in the dream state. And again, it was about the car. And I arose where we live. I'd gone from 30 miles an hour to 20 miles an hour. And I kept having this dream about doing 29 miles an hour. And I had this thing about the 10% rule being caught by the police. Why I had those fears, if you like, in my conscious mind, I have no idea. But in my subconscious mind, when I went to sleep, I kept seeing this time and time again, because it was this conscious thing for me to make sure that I was sticking to the speed. And it was at a time that our employer was putting little computers in all the cars at work so they could see what speeds we were doing. And I wanted to be absolutely goody two shoes. I didn't want to be anywhere near the actual limits. 30 miles an hour is the limit, then 29 or 39. I wanted to be just under that. So all of these things can kind of clash together. And often for me, from a personal experience, all of my dreams have some sort of interpretation about what's going on in my actual life. Every now and then, spirit are manipulating my dreams, and they're giving me memories, or they're trying to give me some sorts of thing, like the car crash, the toxicity at work. Ash, you're going to burn out if you carry on in that situation. It's time to move on. And that was the continuation of the car crash. And ultimately, through my guides, I was able to understand what that meant. So, Keita, hopefully that answers it. So with your permission, we can send you some healing to hopefully get you a better night's sleep. As I said, fortune telling, actually knowing what's in the future, very, very difficult to tell. And the last question for the evening will come in now, and it goes to D. D says, can babies connect with a medium? Yeah, absolutely, D. Remember, of course, that the human voice and the human language is very much something we rely on in this year, in this time, in these bodies. In heaven, when we're pure energy, anything we want happens immediately. Click your fingers, it happens. You have absolute power in that spirit realm of where you want to go, what you want to do, where you want to see, and it is all very, very quick. It happens immediately. And when someone who is the energy of a personality, be that a baby, or it would have been a baby that was not been able to born, or sadly a baby who's had a very brief incarnation, then the energy of that soul can communicate almost immediately. Sometimes children and babies decide to grow up in this spirit world in accordance with the times and the clocks we're going with. So there was a little girl that I often work with called Marigold in the spirit world. She first introduced herself to my father when he was working as a medium in a circle, and she spoke about growing up in the spirit world. Now, she'd been there, I think, for several hundred years already, but she had always thought about that spiritual body and the self as the body she'd had when she'd been a little girl. So sometimes children and babies decide to do that. Sometimes they present themselves at different ages. But remember, it's the energy behind the personality that can communicate. And in the same way that babies can, we also can get this from animals. So I'm no Dr. Dolittle. I don't speak dog. But every now and then, my nan's little dog, a little Yorkshire Terrier called Brandy, will pop in. And it's through their feeling that the dog is letting me know, that they're around, perhaps. And it's not like they go woof and I know that they're talking about the last steak dinner they had. Often, though, when the dog, like Brandy, if Brandy was with my granddad has a better attunement with the dog because of the energy and the personality. So they can say, the Brandy dog is saying he misses you, for example. But while he was alive, my granddad used to say that Brandy could drive buses. So I don't think my granddad says with the true adventures and lives of Brandy dog. But yes, D, babies can connect with a medium. Sometimes it will be in the personality they would have had when they passed over. Sometimes they've continued to evolve, but often with help of spirit friends, family, guide ones, and loved ones in the spirit world, they develop to a point that they can communicate and you're able to understand. Thank you, Dee. Hopefully that answers your question. And folks, thank you for all your questions tonight. It's been lovely to have some challenge and have some questions coming in. As I say, the next couple of shows are really down to you. I'm really interested in your opinions about the types of things that you would like to hear us talk about and the things that you would like us to discuss on being spiritual. So our next show in 2 weeks, we'll have Mary Dixie and we'll have Christine Woodham, two of my circle leaders. The other circle leader I'm going to ask to connect. She lives in heaven now. That's Jill Hay. I'm going to ask her to be part of the show in any way, shape or form she can. We haven't quite worked out how to Skype there yet, Richard, have we? But we'll work out a way of getting Jill involved in the show too. I'm going to talk all about spiritual development, spiritual circles, leadership, discipline, sort of standards. So that's the show in 2 weeks. But head over to SPTV fan page on Facebook, folks. Give us some ideas about some of the other spiritualist philosophy subjects you'd like to see us talk about and discuss, or you can head over to my page at Ash Robinson Medium. You'll find me across all of the social media channels at Ash Robinson Medium. And spiritual directory, folks, you can go on there and vote. You could vote for your favorite show, like Being Spiritual with Ashley Robinson, or your favorite host or medium, someone you've seen on SPTV. And if you don't see the person you're looking for in that list, consider nominating them too. Lots of wonderful categories. And this truly is an awards ceremony run by you for the benefit of you and the community. So it'd be lovely to hear from you. Just as we're about to go, Amy threw in a question. I'm young in terms of learning, but not of age. I'm just so enthusiastic. I'm a kid in a sweet shop. Thank you so much for your words. Amy, you're absolutely welcome. I get that analogy. I'm often a kid in a sweet shop too. Julie Caswell says, great show. Thanks, Ashley and Richard. Well, thank you, Julie Caswell. And thank you, my friends at home and away. Lovely to have people right across the pond in places like Australia. Marion says she's loved listening to the informative chats. Straight to the point. Folks, on that note, good night and God bless. Stay safe and look after each other.
Spiritual Psychics TV. Online. Spiritual Psychics TV isn't just an online broadcasting service. We also offer many features via our website. SPTV offers a unique directory that uses geolocation to find your nearest reader or venue, just by using your postcode. The Academy section allows anyone to upload and create their own spiritual courses within minutes. For those who like to read, then our online magazine area will offer just that. The SPTV shop enables anyone to start their online shop, be it to sell used or new items. You can also find our schedule and information about our shows.
Spiritual Psychics TV, bringing spiritual people together. Spiritual Psychics TV is hosting the first annual recognition of achievements, acknowledging those who dedicate their lives to a spiritual act of kindness. Spiritual Psychics TV, bringing spiritual people together.